Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. In today's episode of the Daniel Saul Show, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. The Mavericks taking on the Celtics. Game 1. Who's got the most pressure on them, and who's going to win Game 1? Let's get into it. So, the Mavericks are in a pretty bad situation here, mainly because of the depth in comparison to their adversary. And I feel like because the Celtics have such great depth, you're talking about Tatum, Brown, Holiday, White, Horford, Porzingis, Pritchard. You're talking about all those guys, right? And I'm going to go over what all of them scored versus Indiana. And then the Mavericks, they got Doncic, Irving, PJ, Lively, Gafford, and then Jones Jr. But when you're talking about, the Celtics have more depth. They have more players that are going to do the job. And when you're looking at it, Porzingis didn't play versus Indiana, and they still swept Indiana, which is not a bad team, even though I didn't believe they should have beat the Knicks. I do believe that Indiana wasn't, the best of teams, but they are a good team in the East, and they swept them like it was nothing. They just swept the Indiana Pacers. And that was without Porzingis, which is why I believe Porzingis is an X factor. He's an X factor in this finals because you got to think about this. If he plays this series, this season he averaged 20.1 points per game. Okay? So my prediction, what he's going to average and score game by game is around 15 to 18 points. He might have a good 22, point game. And I feel like that's a good average for what he's going to score this series if he plays. Now, like I said, you got Tatum and Brown. Tatum averaged 30.3 points in the last series against Indiana. Brown averaged 29.8. Holiday was averaging 18.5, and he's not even an offensive player, really. He's defense. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. The only reason why he wasn't Defensive Player of the Year is because he's a guard. Not a lot of guards get DPOY. But my point is that you got a good lockdown defender in Holiday. Derek White's been popping off recently. I don't know what's going on with Derek White. He's been outstanding. He's been playing out of his mind. I don't know what happened. Maybe when he cut his hair, he started to play great, but I don't know. But he's playing outstanding. Tatum and Brown, obviously, that's key factors. Horford, even though he's out of his prime, he's still playing, pretty decent and putting up some good numbers, shooting in the corners and shooting from three. I like that. He's averaging about 12.8 points. And then, like I said, Porzingis is the X factor, 20.1 points per game, for the season. He didn't play versus Indiana, but like I said, my prediction for him, points, 15 to 18 points, might have a 22-point game, something like that. And then Pritchard, the last on the depth chart, really that's that good, is averaging about 6.8 points, so about 7 points per game in the last series against Indiana. So you can see all these players, right? They're putting up good numbers, all of them. And all of that, combined with the assists, combined with the rebounds, combined with the steals, the blocks, all of it, they're an overall great team. And I don't like to say that the East is really going to win because I feel like the West is a better conference, and I feel like the West has overall way better teams than the East. So my feeling, because, yes, the Mavericks, when you look at what they did against the Wolves, and I thought the Wolves would win, that was a really impressive win in this series against the Wolves because they beat them 4-1. I thought they were going to sweep them at one point. But you got Doncic, who averaged 32.4 points per game, Irving with 27, PJ around 12.2 points, Lively with around 10 points, Gafford around 11 points, and Jones around 10 points. So they're all averaging decent points, But my thing is this. If Porzingis plays, if Porzingis is in this series and plays at least 4 games, which is good enough to beat the Mavericks, they will win the series. Mainly because 20 points for a season, and I know Tatum and Brown's numbers aren't going down. They have really good numbers. They're in the high 20s. I know that. So their numbers, that's a three-headed monster right there on top of a defensive master. And like I said, Derek White's playing outstanding right now. All of those players, you're talking about 15 points or higher in this series. That's a lot of points. So they're going to put up amounts of numbers, great amounts of numbers when it comes to the scoring. It might be in the high 113, 115, 120, something like that. They're going to score that on a nightly basis. And my point here is that when you have all those players scoring all those points, the Mavericks don't have enough depth. They don't have enough players to impact the game and score enough points. Yes, you got Lively, who went perfect from the field in the series against the Wolves. He went 16 to 16 probably. I think that's what it was. He played outstanding. I understand that. But him averaging 10 points isn't going to help him or isn't going to help his team. And same thing with Gafford and Jones Jr. and PJ. They're averaging 12.2 or less. How are they going to help a team that's going up against a team where their best players, or at least 5 of their players, are averaging higher than 16 points in the last series? Probably going to do the same thing in this series because their defense isn't the greatest. It's not like, the Wolves' defense. It's not like, I think that the Celtics have better defensive players than the Mavericks do. So overall, how can you say the Mavericks could beat the Celtics, to be honest with you? The only chance of the Mavericks being able to win is if Tatum doesn't play well. Because Tatum is inconsistent. Yes, he did average 30.3 points in the last series, but he was going from like 36 points to like 20-something points. Like, he was inconsistent. He wasn't dropping the same amount of points. Luka was straight up 30s besides one game, and he got 28. Every other game, he scored 30 or over. So you're talking about a guy that's more consistent, a leader that's more consistent. The better player is Luka. He's probably the best player on the court in this series. But the bottom line is that the Celtics just have overall more depth. And if you're talking about Porzingis averaging 20.1 points, and if in the series he averages 15, 18 points, that's a big enough difference, way big enough difference, to do the deal and to win the series. And on top of that, the Celtics do have home court advantage. They were the number 1 seed. They're the more consistent team. Like I said, however, Boston does go as far as Tatum goes. So if Tatum doesn't play well, then it's going to be very bad for the Celtics. And I think that the Mavericks are going to do outstanding. Wait, hold up. Before this video ends, make sure you go like, turn on post notifications on as always, and comment. Let me know what you think about this video. And if you want to see more greatness and more amazing takes from me, yours truly, Daniel Sauls, make sure you go subscribe to my channel because I'll be back with another video very soon for y'all guys. Peace out, y'all.